Family, this is FleurBrun coming to you today to discuss, well, actually tonight. I never do. I'm sorry. I never do lives at night, but I attempted to do live all today, and it didn't go through. So I'll wait for, my hair looks crazy. I'll wait for some of you to check in. So check on in. Hey, Carmen. Hola, mamita. What's the que paso? Check on in. Hey, Miss Telly. Check on in. Hey, Eric. Peace. Peace, family. Hey, Truth Seeker. Peace, Cadillac. Hey, Lynetta. Hey, Thick City. Hey, Jennifer. Hey, Latin Rica. Nicole, Rachel, Kristen, Shayla. Amazing. Anyway, so I'm sorry earlier I tried to make a live, but it didn't go through. So I figured I'd do it anyway. I had to make a couple of announcements. So I figure I'd do it at night. I don't like to do nights, but it's okay. So anyway, family, I had a conversation about, with a couple people who are having issues with still very narcissistic, sociopathic people in their direct path of sight, meaning that these are entities that are coexisting in their world and creating all kinds of chaotic situations, scenarios, and what have you. And we were talking about how would you know if you were in 5D, if you were in 4D, if you were experiencing higher levels of consciousness, or in splintered, parallel universes where everything seems more cohesive or not. And hold on one second. Thank you. So I discussed that a lot of times how you can tell, and one of the main ways that you can tell that you're still residing in 3D is if you are consistently having parasitic, vampiric type of beings in your normal homeostasis, meaning that in your daily lives, they are perpetually there. They means they are in your workforce. They are at your school. They're in your household. You're dating them. You're sleeping with them. You're interacting with them every time you walk out to the store or the grocery store. I mean, if you are perpetually experiencing those type of vampiric parasitic beings on a daily basis, you are still a resident in 3D, meaning that your zip code still is located within 3D paradigm. And how we talked about we talked about ways that we can kind of change our perspective or try to heighten our frequency so that we can permeate past and supersede these levels where these parasites have any level of control, or if they're troublesome. You want to kind of you want to supersede their levels so that they no longer can be in your world. Now, mind you, each level, if each time you raise your frequency and you go to a higher realm of existence, there are higher forms of other types of parasites, but there's different ones at the lower 3D realm, meaning that what you're going to see at the 3D realm is more of what we consider to be the narcissist, consistent, perpetual narcissist. Hey, Ashay Divine is on the line. Speaking of parasites, she's blowing spots with Nature Boy. Giving all the tea. I was sipping. I just got in a little while ago. Oh, Ashay Divine. If you want to listen, I shouldn't even spill it. It's like a bad soap opera. Why don't you go and check out, subscribe to Ashay Divine, because she's doing what's necessary to air out the garbage of some of these demonics that are, utilizing our sea stars as, as part of their sexual deviancy. So she's blowing the spots. Nature Boy left her a whole lot of disgusting sexual texts and messages, and it is really quite debaucherous. Anyway, it's not high frequency, but it details what kind of frequency this being comes from. So anyway, check out Divine. So big up to Divine, Ashay Divine, blowing spots on Nature Boy. Anyway, so we're talking about parasites, and actually that being would be on the level, if you're experiencing or interacting with a being like Nature Boy, you are truly coexisting and living in 3D realm. You are in the zip code. If you have a personal relationship with him and you are living in a household with Nature Boy, I can already presume that you are living in 3D realm, meaning that you have not superseded higher frequencies and levels of consciousness. And you need to step away, collect yourself, maybe meditate. Hold on. We've got we've got an entity here which I believe is. Let me speak on this too, because what's interesting, when I come on live on here, it's interesting because I can speak on beings that are lower field and hampered in consciousness, and also again, I'm kind of sidebarring. So let me back up. You know what? I'm late. When I come late, I'm a little. My show's tomorrow night, so I come a little late. So listen. Okay, listen. Hey, Keisha, 1+3. Where you been, Keisha? Anyway, so I had, I had an issue with, talking to others who were having these, obviously trouble with narcissists and sociopaths, and we had to sit and kind of feel together and figure out what it was about them that was manifesting and projecting that type of those type of beings, and also why they were consistently staying in 3D perpetual 3D mode. And we figured it out. A lot of the shows that they were watching, big up to the Housewives of Forever. One of the things that we noted is that these sea stars were still watching a lot of low field shows, such as Housewives of Beverly, Housewives of, I don't know, Housewives of New York, Housewives of Atlanta, Love and Hip Hop. And what we were realizing, that even though they were higher in consciousness and that they were experiencing elation and higher field of awareness, they were still being hampered and MK Ultra and also conditioned by watching television, which was perpetually putting them under a mind control, a form of mind control, and was entraining their minds to keep them in lower field behavior. And also it assists with projecting lower field scenarios and situations. So if you're perpetually watching shows like, believe me, family, you already know, because I was blowing spots with the Housewives, because I like to watch the Housewives and watch their eyes shapeshift and then blow spots. That's one of the things I was enjoying to do. And I had to eventually cut it out. My TV blew up. Remember I told you my TV? My TV glitched out from a storm, and I never repaired it and I never replaced it. And I was like, okay, good, because then I won't obsess watching these low field shows. And my sort of obsession is a little different than most, and but I'm still watching it, so it's still, even if you're a higher frequency, you're still being programmed subconsciously on whatever the agenda is on these shows. So shows like what's the other one, um what's the other show, oh, there's another show that everyone watches. I forgot. Baby on the Brain. There's another show that everybody watches a lot of times. It's about that, like old hip hop. Love and Hip Hop's one of them, but oh, it's one. It's the show. I hate when when I know the show and I was just talking about it. It's a show when there's like an old the Empire. Thank you, Daya. Thank you, Daya was reading my mind. Telepathic messages, Daya. Thank you. So Empire is one of them. A lot of all the Housewives, for Love and Hip Hop. A lot of the music is lower vibration. Now, as you know, the music is also training your thoughts and mind, and it has a lot of subliminal messages. Just like back in the days, I don't know, used to hear people say if they reverse the records. Anybody from Big up to anybody who had vinyl records back in the days, who were able to hear the records. But there used to be a way that you inverted the record and you reversed it. And the reverse, sometimes you would hear, worship Satan or what have you on those records. They still do the same thing, just with higher technology, and they're fielding the technology and lowering the elf waves, lowering the energetic waves, so that when it goes inside of your mind, it actually permeates through past your subconscious, and it imprints images, thought patterns, patterns of behavior. It'll do things like that. I love vinyl. I still have mad vinyl. I just, I want to play some throwbacks. You know what I'm saying? But It does that. So a lot of times with the music like Lil Wayne, you already know Little if you're listening to Lil Wayne and a lot of these low feel type of hip hop, I used to I'm a hip hop head. Many of you know I'm a fan of the old school hip hop, but I remember in my generation, hip hop had, was a little more revolutionary. It was a little more happy. We had aspects of hip hop where it was talking about love. Remember LL Cool J was talking about I need love. For all you young heads who don't know that. We had songs with Rakim, Eric B and Rakim talking about, um talking about passing the galaxies, going deep into the darkness. We had people like EPMD. We had who do we have? We had we had Fight the Power. I mean, we had a really revolutionary type of hip hop and really some happy things too in hip hop as well. Happy dancing type of music. Wu Tang. Oh, Wu Tang is another one. We had a lot of great very very transformative type of music that was positive. It made you want to do better. We used to cut up our clothes. We used to go out and hang out. Brand Nubian. We used to go and jump up, get down, jump up, jump. We used to do a lot of fun stuff during the time where we had that old school hip hop. Nowadays, you hear the hip hop music, it's telling you to smash a girl until she passes out or choke her out. You never hear about any love in any of the music. You hear about just perpetually, yoni hoarding. Poor righteous teachers. Oh, we got some old heads. Listen, we got some veterans, hip hop veterans up in the house. What's good? I love it. And that music was very beautiful, and it had a lot. It changed us. It metamorphosized us. It made us want to do better. It made us want to inspired us to do better. We had good relationships with one another. Actually, dating back then. Guys would hold your hands. You would get a kiss on the cheek. Sometimes they'd show up with flowers. I mean, he'd take you to, skating. I mean, I know it sounds corny to some of you, but you have to understand that the music nowadays, look at the behavior of some of the young folk with the music, with a lot of, and I'm talking about hip hop because that's more of my genre, but listen to the music now and you see how the young people are acting as far as behavior wise with each other. There's relationships are at its most detrimental point. Young people are not interacting in the most healthy way anymore. People are doing things more drugs. And don't get me wrong, drugs was prevalent back then because you remember they had the crack age and so on and heroin. But drugs nowadays, I remember I went out the other day and I was hanging with some of my homies, and it was so interesting because I noticed that, for us, I'm a woman of a certain age, so I hang out and I'm drug free, even even though some people ask me, I don't chief. Not to say I haven't back in the days, way years ago, but I don't chief. I'm sober. I already see shapeshifters and stuff like that. I don't need to get high because I'll probably see all kinds of madness anyway. But I'm hanging out, and what I noticed is that there are a lot of people who can't even hang out without getting high or drinking and getting drunk. Like they have no. Everyone has to drink. Like there's no one who wants to sit. Like everyone has to be some sort of has to be on something to enjoy themselves. And if they're not drinking or drugging, they're on their phones consistently, checking their emails, checking their texts, looking at Facebook. I mean, you basically are sitting down with a robot, a biobot in front of you perpetually, like having a basic conversation with someone and getting eye contact is almost impossible nowadays, because if you get eye contact for more than 10 minutes, they're probably looking down at their phone in like another 20-30 minutes after that. So it's really hard to have that really good interaction with people, and the young people are really suffering from having personal relationships that are really bonding and lasting, because in the age of technology and exposure, you know, someone can meet someone and, break up with someone, text them, break up with them, and meet someone in 10 seconds on one of these dating sites on social media. You know what I mean? Back in the days, somebody had to break up with you face to face. Now they break up with you on text, and then they keep it moving and get somebody else that they met, on Instagram. It's just a different world, and it's really costing a lot of our young people to lose part of their soul and their motivation to really do better and higher things. So all this to say, I know I sidebarred, but all this to say is why it's very, very important, for, like I had this conversation, is that if you are consistently having sociopaths in your family dynamics and narcissists, you are upholding that within yourself. So you are, because you are, um, somehow bringing that into your field of awareness. You are projecting it, and it is showing up in your world. So I would say, this is my suggestion. I said this to the sea stars and the sun stars. It's like, you're going to have to, you've got to be the change you want to see in the world. You're going to have to watch shows that are a little more enlightening, like what I do. And I tell sea stars who are dealing with a lot of heartache, watch romance shows, watch happy shows, watch comedies. Start watching things that are higher in vibration. And why do you have to watch anything at all? Sit down and read a book, a positive book. Books are something that will promote your imagination, and it will allow you to see things in a perspective of your own thoughts and patterns. So sometimes it's better, if you're having issues with the vibration and the low frequency of a lot of shows, why not sit and read a book? Get some books. I remember the old holocron heads. Back in the days, we had a lot of that's an older generation that used to love to read the Harlequins. I don't know if some of you know what that is, like love sex books, but they were really romantic, a little over dramatized, but they enjoyed it. And it brought some aspect of romance in their mind and patterns. I mean, start doing things like that. Start going out in nature, not pooping on the trees like that beast, but going out in nature, sitting down underneath the tree, reading a book, bringing a mate with you, making love underneath the tree. Now, listen, I said to make love underneath the tree. Don't get arrested and say FleurBrun told you to have sex outdoors and then you got busted. I'm saying, if you have a private yard, and word of shame, no pooping on the trees. If you have a private yard, make love. That's what we used to do back in the, maybe I'm shouting out, maybe I'm getting a little personal, but I'm just saying, back in the days, you would go outside and make love underneath the tree or in the park or something like that. Nothing perverted. That's beautiful. Or, hold hands with your mate outside, talk to each other. Why don't you get to collectively together? And like my homies used to do a little barn fire, sit out and talk to each other, leave your cell phones inside. Cause I'm paranoid. So I want you to leave your cell phone anyway, because I don't want any of our information being recorded for future indictments. Let me stop. But this is what I'm saying, is that we're going to have to take a step back, because if you're not experiencing 5D, now 5D, hold on. Cops tried to bust me. Oh, you were having sex in public? Well, listen, I didn't tell you to have sex. When I say go outside, like I said, don't, if you get busted, don't come to me. Just if you I'm just saying this all to say is that we need to get back to a very simplistic time where we didn't have all this social media, where it's distracting us and really creating it's really making us more detached in society. We need to get back to the basics, and there's nothing wrong with going out with your homies and going outside and camping. And I know brown people always have a big deal. It's a big deal. I'm a camper, and I grew up camping, and I was a Girl Scout. Big up to my mom, my Matrix mom. I got a Matrix mom. she was, they're island people, so we were out in nature, and it was cool, and doing marshmallow. Back in the days, marshmallow had pork, yes, but we had marshmallows, s'mores. We'd sit there and barbecue. We talk by the fire, and it was just us. We go into the tent with our flashlights, playing with each other in the flashlights until one of our moms or dads would tell us to turn it off and go to sleep. I mean, that's very simple, and we need to get back to that. And it's a beautiful time when you can actually sit and interact with one another, and that raises your frequency, and it takes you out of 3D, 3D, mindset, and it will take you out of, raises your frequency, raises your vibration, and then you start permeating different levels of reality, going into different parallel existences that are more cohesive, that are much more positive, much more nature based, and you will see that those parasites, those narcissists and those sociopaths will just disappear, and they will disintegrate, and they would dissipate, based on the fact that you're raising yourself so high that you no longer are in realms where those type of beings exist. Now mind you, yes, a different level, higher level, different devil. So yes, you get higher and you get different fields of other energetic vampiric beings, but it won't be those low field ones, those real base ones that are really, really feeding off of your energy, and it's so hampering on your spirit. You got to get up a little higher. So stop watching Empire, and stop watching the Knicks and the stop watching sports, because sports doesn't help either. That's another thing. I got to get on my Sun Stars, because some of our Sun Stars obsessed with sports, obsessing with sports. And I come from that world. I have a lot of sports terms because I used to be with a lot of sports. One particular that I was married with, a sports person, and he was obsessed with, like, the free throw shots, and so I have a lot of that banter. But he even, his obsession with watching other games and being competitive, it was so low field and it hampered him. But that was my Nazi, so you could just understand why he might have been a Nazi. But watching too many sports, obsessing with sports, the whole ideology behind sports, which is a whole nother reptilian conversation. I'm not going to get into it now. It's low field, it's low energy, building that competition, that fight, flight, and more fornication type of behavior. It's unhealthy. So, I'm talking to our Sun Stars too. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong, because I do like the camaraderie that does come with sports. I like the guys like to go out and talk to each other, and sometimes they take that as an opportunity to bond with one another, our Sun Stars. But we have to find other ways, more authentic ways to bond, so that we're not relying on these outside lower field, lower energetic field activities to make us perpetually keep feeding the lower energies, and still allowing for that 3D paradigm kind of mentality to still overtake us. So I wanted to state that we have to start to do that. Oh, and I wanted to make an announcement before I forget. Tomorrow night, listen, my show is tomorrow night. Aquarius Rising Ninth Gate. I do my show every night, Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. But you know who I'm having on tomorrow night? I'm having the mother of the Matrix, Sophia Stewart, is gracing our channel. And I will be having an interview with Sophia Stewart, who wrote the Matrix and the Terminator, and she stimulated a lot of other wonderful, masterful other types of shows. She'll be joining us. I remember she called me from Las Vegas. She said she wanted to do the show. I'm excited. So Mother of the Matrix will be joining us tomorrow night. And guess what? I'm doing it live on YouTube. Normally I do our live on FB only, but my YouTube family, you guys get on me all the time saying that I put too much preferential treatment. I give too much preferential treatment to my FB family. So I'm going to do it live on YouTube. So get your snacks. You know how we do. Get it on, popping. You know how the first 15 minutes I'm doing shout outs. I'm from New York. If you don't want me to do it, don't tune into the show until after the first 15, 20 minutes. I have to have music and shout outs. That's just what I do. So tomorrow night I'm going to have Sophia Stewart join us. I'm so excited. I'm going to have a lot of pertinent questions for her. I'm really I'm enamored by this wonderful, iconic woman. She's going to talk about the adversity that she experienced with her work, and I'm just excited. So join me tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern. So, my West Coast family, you got to be, you guys are 3 hours prior Central, you're 1 hour prior. Our European family, you're 4 to 5 hours later. And our Australia family, Hawaii's 5 hours, I believe, or 6 hours. Australia, I think, is 6 hours. So just get your time zones right. I know our European family generally can't do it unless they work nights or they're late owls, but it would be worthy to watch it, and also you can listen to it anytime. So it's going to be thebomb.com. Sophia Stewart is gracing our show, so I'm excited. So do join tomorrow night. So I just wanted to get on that. I know I was supposed to make a video earlier, but I just want you to watch the parasites in your life. I realized that I'm very unapologetic about ridding or rebuking parasitic type of beings. And I got to a point where I started to naturally just rid of those type of beings. They no longer even were coming. I could easily see a parasite. I could easily see them. I could easily feel them out. I started to see that. And I remember, there were a couple people who felt a certain way that I no longer wanted to hang with them. I didn't feel in alignment with them. And I'm very unapologetic. And listen, if people are not treating you well, if they are not treating you with dignity and respect, if they're dishonoring in their own lives to their own families and their own people, you must know that that if they're treating their own to that degree, then that they will most likely treat you to that degree or lower. And it's best to disengage with those people without judgment and just keep it moving. I've learned that, even with people that I meet, not everybody's gonna fly with you, but you don't have to disrespect someone. You don't have to say negative things about them. But just by disengaging and not interacting with those type of beings, it does allow for aspects of your higher self to acknowledge that you're in self-love mode. Because when you love yourself, you wouldn't allow beings around you to mistreat you. You wouldn't allow entities to mishandle you. It's self-love is expressed in many different ways, and it is expressed in how you allow and who you allow in your cipher and or in your your general area of existence. So it's very important. Yeah, this parasitic family, sometimes you have more parasitic family and vampiric family than you have friends or strangers, and you have to be aware of that. Sometimes these things are meant to be spiritual lessons. We don't know who you were in your past life. Some of you do know who you were in your past lives and what you may have done in previous incarnations. Sometimes it is for us to learn and get spiritual lessons, so we come into this life experiencing some of the same circumstances and scenarios that we gave and we had others experience under our debaucherous behavior. Sometimes I've agreed. I told you back in a past life I was living in as a flower child with no shoes, having lots of sex and lots of drugs. And in this life, I'm actually the opposite. I'm unable to do drugs like that. I don't do drugs. I would love to have more sex, but I'm not really that type of being. I'm not doing mindless sexual acts with random people. But in my previous life, I was. And what happened is that when I came into this life as becoming a young adult, and that's dissipated now, but I was exposed to so many people who were addicts because I was an addict in a previous life. I was exposed to all kinds of scenario with people with low field behavior based on the fact that they were not able to have a mindful. Their boundaries were limited, and their behavior was reprehensible because of their addiction or because of their playing around with drugs and alcohol. And I had to learn in this life that that's something that harms and hurts people. Even if you're not the person doing it, being around people like that who let you down, who disappoint you, who are perpetually violating you because they're on drugs and alcohol, it does affect you and it affects families. So I had to see that in this lifetime, and I learned that lesson. I really did. So now, as I got a little more seasoned, those beings started to dissipate because I learned the lesson. So it's good to learn the lesson and keep it moving. But you don't have to keep low field beings around you. And it's okay to disengage with people who are not good for your frequency. And stop watching these ratchet shows. Because if you watch shows about, listen, if you're watching shows about demonic males, especially in the hip hop community and sports figures who are disrespecting their wives. Oh, Cardi B. Oh gosh. I don't want to disrespect Cardi B. Okay, somebody bring up Cardi B. Okay, Cardi B is one of those beings that I have such a mixed feeling about. Cardi B is, she's newer. She's from Love and Hip Hop. She's a very low, her behavior is very low vibrational, but her heart is so beautiful. See, this is one of those things I hate to do it, but she did take the she took the oath, and it's unfortunate because I love her, Latina. Yeah, she's a Dominicano, and I love her. I love where she's from. I know where she's from, around 207 the Broadway in New York. Big up to New York, around Washington Heights, Dominicana City. I know where she's from. I know her people. I know her culture. I know how hard she really worked. And I know it's very difficult for me because I see a young C-star. No, I'm not. I can't save her. She's already signed the contract. She's done. To be honest, once you take that oath, there's nothing you can do. And what's so interesting is when they take the oath, they forget that they took the oath, and years later, when they're all comfortable and warm in their bed, is when bam, it comes and hits you what you're required. Because remember, people always assume when you take the oath, you have to give up a family member immediately. No, payment is not always immediate. So usually sometimes your payment is due later. So people think, oh, she doesn't have a blood sacrifice or anything like that. Nobody died in her family initially, but they don't realize the oath. You don't have, when you take the oath, payment is not always required on onset. It can be, payment is due later. So when they're comfortable, they have their success, they actually mature, they actually gain some spirituality, they actually forget all the things they do, and they're trying to be better people. That's when the criteria, that's what's due, is the payment is due. And that's when you start seeing madness and them losing their minds or shaving their heads, like, Britney Spears losing it because they don't realize that they took the oath. And once you take the oath, it's a blood contract with some of the demonics, that low field energy. If you get that kind of fiat in this life, hold on. Sorry. I got to do a text. Sorry. See, this is what's rude. I'm texting now. I forgot to do a text. Yeah, but I don't want. I'm sorry. I sidebar on hold on. Okay. A sidebar on Cardi B. I'm torn with her. That's all. Her heart is beautiful. She has a beautiful heart, but it's just that low vibrational behavior. Her Cardi B is ratchet. But she keeps it 1,000. Let's move on. I'm sorry. It's one of those people that you want them to be successful. You're so happy how she loves being successful, but it's a train wreck all in the same in the same movement. It's just, it's you can't, when you make money doing debaucherous things, when you sell yourself and your soul, there's no going back. You know what I mean? It's just it is what it is, right? So you love her, yeah. It's just one of those things. Big up to Cardi B. I wish her well, though. I really do. Maybe what did you say? Oh, there's some people saying some debaucherous thing on here. Can I pick a? You know what I just realized? Can't I pick a moderator on here? I think I can, right? Let me see something. Eric, you wanna? Eric, you wanna? Eric, I just added you as a moderator. Can you do that? If you want to. Eric's already my administrator from Cypher, so I trust that he'll do the X-May of some of these comments. If you don't mind, Eric, I just added you as moderator. I didn't know you could do this. Someone told me I could do that, so I just made sure I added you to that. But anyway, thank you. I'm on sidebar. Eric, clean up shop. What were we talking about? Anyway, so watch what you watch. Number one, watch what you listen to. We're going to talk about the senses. Watch watch what you're eating, because another thing that's keeping you in low vibration is the things that you eat. And we always talk. You already know how I live. You already know how FleurBrun gets down. If you don't know, then you should know that. One thing I say is that you should be eating things that are higher in vibration, and the less GMOs you eat, the less GMOs you'll see out in your environment. The less parasites that you have in your body, the less parasites you will see out in the field out here. Because I had a conversation, I did a Kiki session with someone. It was a male. Big up to Thomas. And he was asking me, he was trying to have he was really, really dedicated. He was attempting to be a vegan, which you already know my take on people jumping from meat eating directly to vegan. I think they're purposefully making people sick. Normally the transition from people going from basic basic meat eating lifestyle, you would gradually go from meat eating to to more pescatarianism or flexitarianism, and then you would try to slowly wean yourself off, and then you go to vegetarianism. You stay there for about a year or two. Some people waver around there and there, and then you end up, eventually trying to go over to veganism. Veganism is really, really a stringent lifestyle. It can cause a lot of health issues if you are not properly getting your proper nutrition. And I always suggest people, you really need to be mindful to take on that lifestyle. They're promoting it, and I told you why. We talked about the Mogellans because of the chemtrails in the sky, the nanofibers coming underneath your skin. They're doing it so because your body's really alkaline, and the only way Mogellans and this alkalinity and this mind control can happen is if you're really, really alkaline. And the only way you can be really alkaline is if you have little to no meat in your system, actually no meat. And it's another way that they get you under mind control. That's a whole nother thing. But listen, I love the vegetarian lifestyle and the vegan lifestyle. I think it's the most humane lifestyle you can have. But there's not been any tribe of beings who have cohesively lived on this planet, to my knowledge, over the last couple hundred years, that have been only vegans. Okay, so even on the islands, my island people and my native island people, the Caribs, the Arawaks, the Tainos, they had more of a pescatarian diet. They were more fruitarians. But they ate some fish occasionally, or they ate a meat occasionally. The problem is that you need to be more balanced. I don't think vegetarianism is for everyone or veganism is for everyone, but I don't think heavy meat eating is good for anyone. I think it's a happy homeostasis in the middle. But what I will say is, to this gentleman, he was having a hard time. He was getting really sick. He was feeling very hampered. He was trying to do hemp. Soy is not good for men. Soy causes, it's an estrogen mimicker. And please watch your soy intake, everybody, please. I went to Whole Foods. The devil is in Whole Foods. Remember, Monsanto came and took part of the structure took over in Whole Foods. Whole Foods is now selling beer. They never used to sell beer. They always sold wine, but to my knowledge, they didn't sell beer. They started to sell like regular beer in Whole Foods, and they have soy in everything. Soy lecithin is in everything. Soy lecithin is a estrogen mimicker. It is changing the sexual disposition of the males. Some males are just naturally more feminine. That's true, naturally from birth. But there are some males that have much more testosterone that becomes lessened because they're eating too many things with soy, and they're drinking from too many plastic bottles which have BPA, which are also an estrogen mimicker. How do I know this? Because I worked in a laboratory, and the frogs were changing sexual dispositions. We had frogs that were males that were turning into females and then laying eggs. This is a fact. The world I live in. That's why I'm a bit of a geek. Soy messes with the female's thyroid. Also, soy causes issues for the females. Anyway, so there's a lot of things going on with the food. So you have to watch what you eat. If you're eating things that are low vibration, meaning that if you eat meat and it's low vibration, meaning that the cow has been killed heinously, it's been restricted, it's been abused, you will take on that frequency in your body. You will take that on. So with this gentleman, that I had a Kiki session with, I denoted that his ancestors were also indigenous from around the Carolinas, and he was mixed with some of the Cherokee, I believe, and the Iroquois from I think Middle America. And what I told him is that those specific tribes were known to eat buffalo meat and venison. And venison and buffalo. See, this is the issue that people don't know about. Why don't they sell venison or deer in grocery stores? It's because they don't want certain people to have indigenous foods that their ancestors ate and would do well for them. Kosher's best, or halal if you're going to consume anything grass-fed. I don't believe in killing any animals or anything, but if you're going to, have meat, then you have buffalo buffalo or venison if you're a native indigenous. Why is that important? It's the same reason why I'll tell you to eat your local fruits and vegetables that are sold in your local area, because you take on, if you're in that area, you if you're living in Florida and you eat Florida, anything grown in Florida, especially in your local area, the trees have a way of building their immune system to fight off whatever is environmentally attacking them. Whenever you eat the fruit from that tree that has built its antibodies to fight off, things that are toxic in the environment, you gain some of that, those antibodies and that protection. It is the same with you eating things that are natural for the type of being and the type of genetics you have. If you come from a lot of these indigenous groups and your ancestors were known to travel with the buffalo and the deer, and they hunted deer every once in a while, or quail. That's why quail, when you go to the stores, is very expensive. A lot of Native American people eat quail. That's what they used to eat. So you know why you go to Whole Foods and see quail is a heck load of money, is because they don't want indigenous people to have access to things that were genetically linked to them. And that's why you need to eat things, especially those copper, Moors, brown, carbon, melanin dominant beings, aboriginal, indigenous. I got all the terms. You need to eat, if you're going to consume meat, flesh, you need to consume those animals from those local areas. That's why buffalo meat. So I told him, okay, so sidebar, I told him that he needs to consume buffalo. So go get buffalo. And he wasn't hampered with finances, so I didn't have to be concerned that he was not able to afford the food that was necessary for him to get better. So I told him, don't do beef, don't do chicken, don't do turkey. Those are not good for you. Burdock root is really good, Aaron. You're absolutely right. Juicing burdock root is really, really good. One of the basketball players I know here who plays for he's friends with Aflalo. Oh, I forgot his name. Anyway, he's gone with me to Whole Foods before, and he gets tons of burdock root and likes to juice it. And he's like 6'8". He plays like a beast, and he's so healthy, and his skin is phenomenal. But he juices burdock root, and also he consumes buffalo, and also he does quail eggs and things like that. So anyway, so all I'm saying is, for the indigenous folk, if you're having issues with veganism because your ancestors did not just totally consume, the only people who do best as fruitarians or vegetarians or vegans are those who come from those indigenous islands, like the people from Native Hawaiians. They do well. They add a little fish to their diet, but they do well with fruitarian, mainly fruitarian type of vegan diet. They do well genetically. They're genetically predisposed for that. But for those who are not from those regions, you might have a lot of issues. Like our Lunars, one of our Lunars was having issues. This was going on in the community, and I went in on some of the Lunars that were going vegetarianism, and they were having this big thing like, oh my God, my eyes are getting lighter. They're clearer. They're so much better because I'm a vegan. That's because I'm a vegan. Absolutely not. That meant that they were deteriorating. There was a lack of nutrition. If your eyes are getting lighter, that's a sign that you're losing melanin and you are getting sick, and you're becoming deficient in minerals and vitamins. That is a fact. So when our Lunars there was a couple people I had to go on, because I come from that horticultural nutritional thing, and I did not want them promoting to our young Lunars that losing color in their eyes, that their eyes getting lighter, was a beautiful thing. It was a benefit. It was absolutely the opposite. Some of them actually lost some of their eyesight because they weren't listening to me. But if your eyes are getting lighter while you're on a vegan or vegetarian diet, that means that you are losing nutrition, and you are becoming you are depleted in minerals and vitamins, and you need to start to eat things were higher in protein. It is not right. So I'm just saying, be very careful with that, our Lunars, because there was a big promotion of people's eyes. Oh, Eric, yes, sea moss. Oh, yes. Dr. Sebi wanted to sea moss. I love sea moss. Irish sea moss. The West Indians, we like to make it in, they like to put rum in it. Big up to the Jamaicans who like to make Irish sea moss with rum. Don't put the rum in it, but just make the sea moss. It's really, really good. Soursop is good. It's an anti-carcinogen. Our soursop. I put soursop leaves in my my moringa tea with lime. I make moringa tea with soursop. I add the leaves. I steep it a little bit. I try not to boil things too much, because you don't want to boil things and it loses its composition, its nutritional composition. So I kind of just let things steep at a little bit of a higher temperature than just normal. I don't boil it, but just let it steep a little warmer than room temperature. But things like that you could do. Just be mindful. I want our Lunas to be mindful. Your eyes shouldn't get lighter. If your skin starts to get lighter on a vegan, vegetarian diet, that's a sign that something's wrong. Losing color. I told you when I was I think I was 15. What was I? I think it was a raw vegan. Was I raw vegan? I was doing something. I was either a vegan or raw vegan. It was one or the other. And I became so anemic. Yeah, okay. I became so anemic. All my color on my face, I lost all my complexion. I'm like a copper color. And, I usually hold a really beautiful copper color, which is nice, and especially when I'm outdoors all the time. I lost all my color. I became like yellow. I looked like a whole nother nationality. And my mother said, "Oh my God," she thought I was dying. And I went in and I found out that I was I was lacking in all kinds of nutrition, everything. They forced me to have some meat intake quickly, and I had to change my diet. And then I went into because they were forcing, my mom at the time was, she was worried, jaundice. Yeah. She made sure that I was eating beef. But I was obsessed with then I started to go into kosher and halal, because I didn't want to eat meat that was killed heinously. It was hard, and it took a long time for me to recover from that. A long time. I was 15, and I was a diehard vegan vegetarian because I was an animal activist, which I still am today. So anyway, I know I sidebarred. I know I've lived such a long life that I have so many different things that I'm kind of acclimated to talk about, that I could talk about. But, just make sure that you're watching what you eat. So, okay, so we talked about watching what you watch on television. Don't take in anything you take in is going to come into you visually. Make sure it's higher in vibration. Comedies are funny. Really funny comedies are great to lift your spirit and your vibration, as long as it's not, detrimental to your, too much cursing or anything. That's, that's a little toxic too. Make sure that the music you're listening to is 5D and above. You listen to, Savaggio, 428 and above. 528 and above. You want to make sure you keep it high in vibration, so that it's lifting your heart space. Make sure you're consuming things. If you eat meat, it should be meat of your indigenous people, whatever they ate. And also should be food that's been, organic. If you eat meat, it should be, it should be, if it's buffalo is all organic. For those who are wondering about buffalo things, buffalo, if you're consuming buffalo, they don't really mess with buffalo as much. And a lot of markets, you rarely hear that there is any, hormonal things going in buffalo. Okay. And from people from regions like, I think, India, Asia, goat is better for you. Goat or sheep meat, things like that. So if you're going to consume meat, make sure it's things that are local animals that are indigenous to your bloodline, to your genetics, and also make sure you're eating things that are cohesive to your spirit and mind. So, stay away from soy. Be mindful of the water bottles. Start filtering your own water. Water is important too. Lower field water will only lower your vibration. So make sure you're drinking water that you filter, that you're building up. I magnetize my water. I'm a horticultural Nista. So I've learned to magnetize my water, and I've magnetized my water for over 20, maybe 20 years now. I told you I'm about this life. For over 20 years, I've been magnetizing my water. I do it on the actual tap itself, the pipe, and I get a strong enough magnet where anything that comes through, I do double magnets. Double magnets, and I magnetize my water. Okay, so you want to make sure your water is fantastic. And clear and clean, and put in positive intents in it. You can add chlorophyll, which I told you that I do. I do it with my nieces. Chlorophyll is good to clear out your lungs if you feel like you're getting a cold. That's why when I got a little sick, if you notice, I quickly recovered, because all I did was take down any acidity, except the coffee. I still did coffee, but take down the acidity, heighten up my alkalinity, and then add more chlorophyll to my water and help to clear my lungs a little quicker. And then I do pomegranate extract to help to build up that vitamin C. I would have done pine needles, but we don't have any pine needles here. So anyway, we could do. I mean, we could have a whole lot of conversation on that. Okay, so that is that, and also another way that you can lower your frequency is having sex with people who have sex with a lot of people. Oh, hey, Jose, you up for work, Jose? Jose's in the house. Big up, Jose. Yeah. You. Oh, with the magnet. The magnet. You guys want to know about the magnet? Okay. So what I'll do. Okay. So one day it's actually in my garage. I'm not gonna go in the garage and get it. One day I'll show you. I'll just take my video and I'll just show you the magnet, how I magnetize my water. I just double. It's just 2 magnets you take. If you want to be real hood and ghetto, just take some rubber bands and put it around the pipe. I have a triple water filter, which I told you about in other videos, and the triple water filter, it has its own pipe. It has its own what is that called, the spout, right? Spout has its own spout. And then what I do is I take a magnet, 2 big magnets, I put them together, and then I you could put a rubber band around it if you want to be hood, and then I take another 2 big strong ones and I put it around, so it magnetizes my water. Okay, that's what I do. And if we want to remineralize your water, you can simply, I use shells. For those who want to, it depends on what you want to do. But if you want to remineralize your water, you take shells, and you could just get seashells from. That's how you know that I come from the indigenous Arawak Carib. Big up to the Arab, the Arab, Arawak Carib and Taino. Those are my people. So the Taino, the Arawak, and the Carib and the Caribbean are the people that I mix with the indigenous that I come from, the bloodline. And one thing that we do, we did utilize a lot of our seashells and things like that, and utilize them to eat with, to drink with, but also you can mineralize your water with it. So what I'll do is I take shells from the beach, and remember, shells are organic because they're from the beach, and you can put them at the bottom of your water. And if you're having issues with your teeth or remineralizing, getting minerals, because all water should be mineralized, just put it at the bottom of your water. And it looks really pretty. It's good feng shui for your thing. Haitian, see? Haitian, yeah. The island people, we're taught that from young, especially those who actually grew up on the islands. I grew up here in the States, but I had a lot of the Carib tribe in Guyana. We tend to all look alike too. All us island people. Someone was saying they met someone who looked just like me. I was like, where is she from? They were like, she's from DR. I was like, okay. Then somebody else said they met me in Guyana. And then somebody said they met me in Jamaica and Trinidad. I was like, all us island people have a tendency, because our islands are so small. We're mixed with the same. We're all cousins. So all the people from the different islands, whether it's Carib, they're mixed with the Carib, the Arawak, and the Taino, we tend to have the same genetic kind of disposition and look. That's just because we're all cousins, family. So yeah. So I hope I gave you some good thoughts on doing stuff like that, and it's best to Puerto Rico's in the Caribbean. That's the Taino. Those are our cousins. Taino are cousins to the Arawak and Carib, so we're mixed with all of those. But just know that if you are going to, I was just going to say this. Now we're going on food. You guys always get, I sidebar so much that I'm just so used to, you guys, I appreciate you because you let me do this. She's a demon on live chat. Who's a demon? Do I have to? I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not going to delete you because I don't know what you're talking about. I was just going to delete you, Juan, because if you're saying I'm a demon, you should meditate. Oh, they're talking about someone else. Who is a demon? Yeah, I'm wondering. Okay. I don't know what they're talking about. I'm looking at the live chat. If anyone's wondering what I'm looking at the live chat, so I'm reading what they're saying. We Caribbeans shy away from our voodoo practice like it's dirty. No, voodoo, Jean-Gagé, Obia, Santeria, AJ, too funny. All those are form of the cultures and the religious spiritual structures that are originally from the indigenous there and from West Africa. It's some of the combination of the two. So for someone to say it's evil and dirty would like saying that my copper skin is evil and dirty. I like my copper skin and I feel that I'm okay. So, when people have really strong, a lot of people are under mind control and they're suffering from Stockholm syndrome from being under Christianity for too long. And it's not an insult. Listen, let me state this again. If you're a brown person and you have brown skin or copper skin and you are you are a Christian and you are driven in your life or stultified in your life, you are suffering from Stockholm syndrome. And I liken this, I don't want to I don't want to Christians, you know, I don't judge anyone's denomination because, like I said, we need religion in people's lives or we would have a lot more murders. Believe me, if we didn't have religion, we'd have a lot more homicides. So religion is needed sometimes just to keep people cohesive. But for those who are brown and so on, it's just what I like in this. It's like, you never see Jews walking around with swastikas on their shirts or their clothing. They're not sitting there trying to get back to, especially if their families were killed and murdered in Germany or in parts of Eastern Europe. You don't see them returning to those places where they were heinously persecuted or abused. So why would you see people of color wearing crosses on them? That is a denotion of the colonization and the genocide of the people, because Christianity was the forefront of taking people and forcing that on indigenous people, because they felt they were lower in form. They wanted them to be less savage, even though they were doing what we're trying to do now, eating fresh fruits, living with limited clothing because it was natural and they didn't feel like they were sinful because they weren't, and there was no raping going on in native cultures as much as was going on in cultures where the people were totally covered. So those who are, are brown, and why I say people are saying, well, why were you separating the brown and Lunas from this? Because it is a different sociological system that you are undertaking when you're talking about religion. Those who are brown, copper, dark, melanin dominant, whatever you call yourself, but if they're under the the ideology of Christianity and they're really fanatical about it, chances are they're suffering from Stockholm syndrome, and they need it. That's why it's very hard for brown people to get out of Christianity. Even if they do, they have a hard time not relating to it or going back to it or formulating a new belief spiritual system with that same perimeter the same kind of perimeters as Christianity. It's very hard. It was perpetuated on brown people purposefully as a form of mind control. It is one of the strongest forms of mind control to brown people to this day, and it has worked very masterfully to restrict them and to hold them hampered. And it's sad because I tell people, if you wear a cross and you're a brown person, you're going to bring more negativity to your life. It's my take on it, and it's sad. But again, I know a lot of wonderful Christians. So I don't want to say this all to say, but I'm just saying, I know that if you're a Jew, I don't see them rocking swastikas. If you're a brown Christian, you've taken on your handler's ideology, their structure, their corporate status, and you've taken it on to yourself. That's a sign of psychological trauma, and you're suffering from some issues. So it is what it is. I don't want to judge you, but like I said, if we didn't have religion, you'd have a lot of barbarians running around doing harm to people. So best believe it's necessary sometimes because it's a stepping stone of getting to higher fields of spiritual awareness. That's the lowest form of spiritual awareness. Well, there's a lower form of that, but right at the first step of spiritual awareness is religion, and it helps people to spark some form of spirituality, and then people start to outgrow it, and then they get into higher forms of self-awareness and spirituality, what have you. So that's just it. So anyway, family, I've just talked to you about everything under the boat, but I'm just telling you to stay out of lower field. If you're experiencing lower field behavior and Also stay away from people who act low in vibration. I was just saying all this to say is that, there were a couple people that were having trouble with having consistent narcissists and sociopaths in their life. And when I disclosed that they were indeed inviting these beings in their life by their very behavior, they decided to acknowledge, because you can't change what you don't acknowledge. Once they acknowledged it, they saw that that could be an issue. They didn't know, because remember, knowing, there's different steps of knowing, acknowledging, and then changing, and then also gaining wisdom based on your actions, with the knowledge that you've gained. They gained it. And then what happens later is that two of them, the other one's still engaging. She's from the other one who's having problems with the narcissist. She's from the NBA world. It's a world we know well. If you ever watch Love and Hip Hop, it's it's very real. But she's from. I've just known her for a long time. When I was married, previously, but she's from that low field world of the NBA world, and she's experiencing a lot of narcissists and sociopaths because it's the environment she comes from. So it's very hard for her to pull out of that. But the other two stopped watching these shows. They started changing their pattern of behavior. They changed their diet. They stopped hanging. They kind of lessened the amount of beings around them that were not living up to a healthier, kind of healthier system of existence. And what else did they do? Oh, and they started to take walks together. Two of them. They started to take walks together in nature, and their whole life started to change. People just started to disseminate. People started to all these narcissists and these lower field beings started to disappear, and they noticed that their actions were and how they felt about themselves change, and it also changed their environment. Whereas the other one is still having the narcissists and sociopaths as a very consistent issue because she has not changed her general environment. And she's from that NBA world. Like I said, it's very debaucherous, a lot of drug. It's not the NBA itself, but the people around are like parasitic, a lot of groupies, a lot of that world is, it's just a very debaucherous world. And she has not pulled out of it. And, it's very materialistic and it's very difficult for her. Okay. You want to speak better French? Who's this? Lemichael? Yeah. Is being a shaman in certain copper and indigenous bloodlines? Yes. But being a shaman, there are those Scotland bloodlines too. So there are shamans in all bloodlines. So, it's not just restricted to copper and brown people. I know they're not called shamans. I forgot what they're called. They're from Scottish bloodline. And that's why many of the Scottish rites are taken on the Scottish Masons take that certain bloodline, because there's a group of it's a bloodline from Scotland that has taken on there's like a spiritual aspect of them. They're very psychic, they're very self-aware. I forgot what it's called. I hate when I don't know. There's Scottish that have that, the Vikings, those from the Viking bloodlines from Netherlands, from like Sweden, Switzerland, Denmark, Finland, Holland. They have some shaman type. They're not called shamans, but they're likened to what we consider to be the indigenous shamans. They're all over. There's people who have those bloodlines. It's a very small niche, but they're in each of the different types of genetic beings living on all of the planet. So, the druids, you have different names of them too. It's wonderful. That's why we need to be exposed to so many different cultures and things like that. And that's why I say, never think that you're above someone or below someone. Just be balanced in how you see people, because everyone has perks, pluses, and some people have minuses. My perks could be your minuses, but your minuses could be my perks, my pluses. We have to be very balanced in how we see things and not be as judgmental. But don't be apologetic about cleaning up shop. And try not to be mean to people that you want to disengage with. I've had to learn, because people with me, I'm I'm very unapologetic about releasing people, especially at this point, and just at the spiritual level that I am at. I'm very unapologetic. I see things. Actually, I see things before they happen. And usually, if I have a feeling about someone, it will show up if I allow it to come later and come to full bloom. But what I've learned is, rather than letting people come to full bloom of their negativity, if you see it and you recognize it, then deal with it and shed the light and disperse of whomever needs to go. I've learned that. I've done that in my own world. I've done it in my cipher. I've done it everywhere. I've learned to not not really question my first mind if I feel a certain thing about someone. And it's never judgment, but they may just not be of my frequency. They just may not resonate well with me. Or maybe I see their motivations as being less noble or maybe parasitic. So I stick and move. I do. And, I try to explain to some, but, I learned that it's necessary, and that's a form of me displaying self-love. If I love myself, I deserve to be around those who are upholding the light, and so to speak, and have a level of integrity. If, you have people who are, cut them off, or they said cut them off. Yeah. I mean, it's, you have to do it. And Oprah made a wonderful, I remember this, she made a wonderful video on that. Sometimes you have to say no. You just have to, you have to say no, and you have to be motivated, self-motivated, meaning that you have to be self-motivated and motivated for your own healthy homeostasis. You know what I mean? Keeping people in your life who use you, who are trying to take your shine, who are always making disparaging comments about you or yours, who are intentionally trying to sidebar you. Those are all beings that are testing your divinity. And if you allow that, then it says that your self-esteem is questionable, and that is also questionable self-esteem is it can be considered quote unquote a sin. Okay, so you come into this life for your spiritual lessons. You come in by yourself, so you need to do things and create healthy boundaries. That's all. So, all right, family. So tomorrow night, Aquarius Rising, 9th Gate, 9 p.m. Eastern. Join us. We're going to have Sophia Stewart. We're going to be live again on FB. I mean, not on FB, on YouTube. So get ready. It should be wonderful. We're going to have a wonderful night. I'm going to try to get rest. Normally, I don't stay on for this late tonight, but I thought it worthy to make the video that I was planning to do earlier. So I'll put all the links in there. I'll put a link to the show. The number's 515-605-9881. Call early. You know how we do. If you want to talk and ask her a question, call early, because the phone lines are going to be real booked. So, but I'll put that link up there, and you know what time it is, and we're going live on YouTube. So relax, like I said, it'll be interesting. And I'm going to ask her some really, really poignant questions. My mind is, so many things I want to, this is Mr. Corey's, homie. Big up to Mr. Corey. Miss Sophia Stewart and him known each other for many, many years. And, we've crossed paths because of Mr. Corey. So I'm grateful to that. She's a fellow New Yorker. So we have that similar vibration. And I'm excited to have her on the show. So I'm going to get my voice together. I'm going to behave myself, make sure that the show goes. And I got to pick some masterful music. I need a DJ. I need anybody, listen. Oh, let me ask this. I want to have new music and independent music that is within our vibration of our family. So if you know anyone who has music that they'd like to add on the show, I would love to have their songs. I may not pick it, but I would love to have songs that are, like ET based, higher vibrational, but still hip and relative. So if you know anyone who has really good music, just send it to me, inbox it to me. I would love to hear it, and I would love to promote their music. I love independent music. I'm from New York, and I would love, yes, like Alienated from CIA Rebel. Big up to CIA Rebel. That CIA Rebel had that song. I might play her song again. But, I want to have, okay, I want to have that, see, I'm getting text. This is what I'm talking about, the distraction of the phones. Um, I love BLB. I want to get BLB on the show. You know, I have a crush on BLB. I might be able to pull that one off and get BLB on the show. If he'll do my show, I would be so grateful. So that would be hopefully a good future to have BLB on the show. I know you guys would really, really like that. So, but again, um, you do too. Oh, Eric, that's sweet. um, but anyway, so uh, yeah, he is cute. He is cute. I just like his mind. I'm a geek. Like I said, I was a nerdy girl from Mount Vernon who was a contact ETs, obsessed with like sci-fi, worked in the laboratory, and used to take pictures in the subway. So I'm just that type of person. And, that's why people are like, you have such an odd way of thinking and your patterns of thoughts and behavior and your things that I even talk about on the show is a little different. It's because I'm grateful now that I'm that person, but I'm grateful to my parents to allow me to have expounded my mind and not really judge me on that and let me be. So I love you, family. Join us tomorrow night, okay? I know I look a mess, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to bed. All right. So 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock Eastern, we'll be here live. All right. Lab work rocks. That's right, Jose. Don't ever diss the laboratories, scientists. We do our thing. Anyway, I love you, family. See you tomorrow. Peace.